Hey everybody, my name is Kean Graham. I am the CEO and founder of MonetizeMore, and I'm going to be presenting about a 25 to 30 minute webinar. But before I get into that, I wanted to mention that MonetizeMore is a publisher monetization partner. We help publishers increase their ad revenues via ad optimization technology and dedicated ad optimization teams. So if you'd like a free consultation, you can request one via MonetizeMore.com. Now back to the webinar, I'm going to be presenting 3 steps to double your programmatic ad revenues. I wanted to start off with a quote by Jeff Green, the CEO of Trade Desk. Unified auction will eventually power 95% of all advertisements and transactions. Our future depends on it. This shows the trend of programmatic. The majority of advertisers, they are moving their funds towards programmatic, where they used to make a lot of their media buys via direct sales. This is all moving towards programmatic, and this trend is moving towards publishers as well. That programmatic strategy is so important for publishers and realizing their ad revenue potential. So for those publishers that are just running AdSense, that is not a real programmatic strategy. It's a simple implementation. And the issue with just running AdSense on page is you're leaving a lot of money on the table and missing out on those ad revenues. So we're going to help you out find those ad revenues with these 3 steps. So the first step is implementing DoubleClick for publishers, known as DFP. The second step is integrating DoubleClick Ad Exchange, short for AdX. And then the third is implementing header bidding optimally. And we've underlined optimally because just implementing header bidding is not going to necessarily increase your ad revenues. It can even decrease it. It's about making a proper implementation that is customized to your publisher sites so that it takes full advantage of the header bidding potential. So the first step is with DFP. DFP is the brain of your ad stack. It's the foundation of an optimal ad inventory. It allows you to run many different ad networks simultaneously to compete against each other in an auction-like dynamic. You can run, say, Google AdSense or Ad Exchange in an optimal way against all these different ad networks, and also run direct sales simultaneously. So how do you implement DFP? You have a couple of options. There's the in-house option or outsourcing. If you decide to go with in-house, that'll take about 20 to 30 hours of ad ops and developer resources. And if you have these resources, we recommend you checking out our YouTube series that goes through the important step-by-steps of implementing DFP optimally. So Brandon will be throwing that out into the chat, and that will enable you to go through the step-by-step and understand each important step to get DFP implemented on each one of your sites in a customized and optimal way. Otherwise, if you don't have the resources, you can outsource this. And this will typically cost $3 to $10K, depending on how many sites, ad units, section of the page, and how sophisticated a setup that you're looking for. If you have traffic above 20 million pages per month, you might have the chance of qualifying as a premium publisher with MonetizeMore. And if that's the case, we do free DFP implementations. So the second step involves DoubleClick Ad Exchange. It is the premium version of AdSense that that has all the advertiser demand that AdSense has, plus the pool of premium advertisers. It has been designed for premium publishers and premium advertisers. It also has additional optimization tools. It has access to demand from other demand sources and better targeting technology, which equals to higher RPMs for publishers. You can unleash its true power by integrating it with DFP using a methodology called dynamic allocation. Dynamic allocation is a methodology that allows AdX to be run within DFP only when it's the highest bidder. Because AdX and DFP are both Google technologies, they communicate with each other, and DFP knows exactly how much AdX is going to pay on every ad impression, and that's how it is able to only run AdX when it's the highest paying ad impression. And whenever AdX is served on your site, you know you've got the highest possible ad revenue for that ad impression. And one of the most important things about AdX is it is the best demand source in the world when you're talking about maximizing your RPMs, fill rates, coverage rates, in terms of worldwide traffic and the pure advertiser demand. There's nothing that beats Ad Exchange. But of course, we're here because we want to show you how you can get the best of AdX and all the other demand sources so that you can allow the maximum amount of advertisers to compete for your ad inventory. So there's two different ways that you can implement AdX. There's having a direct account or working via a third-party company. If you don't already have a direct account with Google, then you're most likely out of luck. Google only partners with very premium publishers that they contact. They do have a form that publishers can fill out. However, over 99% of them are not contacted back. So if you haven't been contacted by Google, you're probably out of luck. However, you can work with third-party companies to get access to Ad Exchange. There are many choices out there. The companies will take a revenue share of the Ad Exchange revenues. And when you're making that decision, it should include the back-end optimization, because Ad Exchange does have a lot of toggles on the back end that require daily optimization to really maximize the AdX revenues. And the onboarding process should be customized to your sites. And of course, the company should integrate Ad Exchange into your DFP so you get the true power of Ad Exchange. MonetizeMore offers an 85-15 revenue share, and we do offer the optimization and integration into DFP if you're interested. In terms of the third and most important step, there's header bidding. Header bidding has been a huge trending topic in the ad ops industry for the past 2 years. It's known as ad optimization 2.0. It has automated the ad operations of prioritizing all the different non-Google ad sources, where before, within DFP, the ad ops would have to prioritize the ad networks by placing in a value CPM based on the past stats that they think will be the future CPMs of that ad network. However, that is not accurate. With header bidding, it actually takes in automatic bids from all the different demand sources and chooses the highest bidder, communicates that to DFP, and then can compete against Ad Exchange on dynamic allocation. So that you know that the winning bid is the actual number that that demand source will pay, so that you are ensured that you have maximized revenue for every single ad impression. That's the real power of header bidding, and that's where you see dramatic increases in your RPMs. So to sum up, header bidding will provide higher RPMs and less management because you don't need that daily optimization. And of all the 3 steps, header bidding is the greatest opportunity to increase your RPMs. However, it is not possible to run it without DFP, and it isn't at its full power without running ad exchange on dynamic allocation. That's why these 3 steps need to happen in order. So how do you implement header bidding? This one can be a little tougher. Header bidding is a very sophisticated practice and implementation. So you can do this in-house or you outsource it. If you decide to do it in-house, we highly recommend Prebid. It's the most accepted header bid technology, and it's also an open source technology. However, Prebid standard won't allow you to take the full power of header bidding and the Prebid technology. It's really important that you customize it to your publisher sites, and there's additional optimization opportunities. However, you need necessarily ad ops and dev resources, which requires a team of both. And to do a custom Prebid implementation where you can get the proper return from Prebid will require an investment of over $500,000. So if you have that type of capital and the team, then we highly recommend Prebid. However, if you don't have those resources, then outsourcing is your best option. And just like AdX, third-party companies, there's also a lot of options where to outsource your header bidding with technology called a header wrapper. So there are some free header wrapper options where there's no revenue share, and it's offered by some of the ad networks. But a thing that's really important for you to know is ad networks have a conflict of interest because they offer demand, and if they control your auction, they have the bias towards tipping the scale towards their demand. And if that happens, then all of a sudden, your ad impressions aren't going to the highest bidders. They might be going to this ad network instead, and then, of course, you're leaving money on the table. So that could be catastrophic for your ad inventory and your ad revenue potential. Then there is also some managed header wrappers that do charge a revenue share. However, there's no conflict of interest. If you're choosing between the managed wrappers and just looking for a header wrapper in general, there's 3 important things you should consider. First off, there's the ownership factor. We highly recommend for publishers not to give up ownership of their ad inventories. You should have your ad inventory should be run with an ad server that you have access to and that you can see what's happening within your ad inventory. You can run your own direct sales on there as well. And you should not give in to companies that want to run it via their ad server. There's also some other header wrapper companies that require you to give up DNS access. We also don't recommend that because if their technology fails, your website goes down. And that's a lot of risk to give. So keep the ownership of your ad inventory. Transparency is also a very important consideration. You want to get full transparency of your ad inventory and especially the header bid stats. It's really important to know what demand sources are running in your ad inventory for ad quality reasons and optimization. You should also know the important metrics like your revenues, impressions, RPMs, the win rates, the fill rates. These are important metrics for your team to know to optimize the ad inventory and also to inform your sales team as well. These stats should not be keeping away from you. So when you're choosing, make sure to ask these transparency questions. And finally, performance. Performance is, of course, you trying to realize your ad revenue potentials and to maximize your bottom line at the end of the day. So there are some header wrappers that are very simple pre-bid standard setups. And then there's some that have more sophisticated features that can really increase your RPMs. So it's important to kind of look into the details of each header wrapper technology to see which one can maximize performance, and testing is one of the best ways to do that. So MonetizeMore is coming out with PubGuru, which we're releasing later in the year. PubGuru is a do-it-yourself ad ops platform. It allows publishers to manage their ad inventories in a simple way to implement DFP, ad exchange, and then of course header bidding, and get the full picture of their stats. The reporting is automated, so rather than copy and pasting into Excel sheets, you can log into PubGuru and see your ad revenue stats in an instant. And another important consideration is MonetizeMore has no demand and has no interest in demand. We are 100% publisher side and have no plans of creating our own demand. So there's no conflict of interest. So when we go back to those three considerations, ownership, performance, and transparency, PubGuru can be installed with your ad server. So you maintain ownership of the ad server. There's no requirements for any DNS changes. You have full ownership. And it is the stats that you see on PubGuru are fully transparent. You see what you're earning per header bid ad network, and you see all the important metrics. And also the stats that come in for the header bidding are translated into key values and filtered into your DFP. So you can check your DFP reporting and see all the even more granular stats that are within the key values. And of course, there's performance. The thing that we really pay attention to at MonetizeMore, our number one consideration is performance. We always optimize towards the highest page RPMs so that the publishers can realize their ad revenue potential. And we have validated this by testing against our competitors. Whenever publishers bring up a chance to test, we always welcome that. And we've set up even fair A/B tests, and we tested against the alternatives and have converted higher page RPMs every time. So if you're interested to see some of these case studies versus the alternatives, please get a hold of us and we'd be happy to send them. So there's some important header bid innovations that contribute to PubGuru header bidding to initialize and generate the highest page RPMs for publishers. The first one is bid and viewability scaling. So when there's discrepancies between a header bid network and DFP, our technology measures those and compensates for those in the actual header bids. Because, for example, if AOL is only paying out 80% of the revenue that it actually bids, then as a publisher, you're losing out on 20% of the revenue. So we prevent that by measuring on a regular basis what, in this example, AOL is earning, and we will decrease their bids by 20% so that the bids are as accurate as possible. There are other header bid networks that actually do not even pay on non-viewable ads. So on our end, we measure the viewability and we scale the bids to compensate for all of the ads that are not viewable so that the bids are as accurate as possible. So then again, the highest paying bid will win the ad impression, and your ad impressions have been maximized for revenue. We also have granular targeting. Another important factor for header bidding is to make sure the only header bid ad networks that bid for an ad impression are the ones that will actually contribute a bid and a competitive one. So there are some ad networks that only bid for certain countries or certain devices or even more granular targeting. So we target each one of the header bid networks according to what they actually bid competitively. We have bidder variation testing technology. So many publishers want to learn what is the optimal amount of header bid networks on an auction on a publisher. And this answer is different for different publishers. And many publishers have to make educated guesses based on some stats that are somewhat related. However, our technology has built a variation tool that creates every single combination and variation of the header bid networks, and it will compare a combination of header bid networks in the auction with a header bid ad network and without. And it will see what the RPM difference is. And then you can see with certainty whether a header bid network actually adds value to the auction. If it doesn't, then don't include it in the header bid auction. We also have a auto bidder dropout. So many header bid networks, they do not bid on late page views within a session. For example, some might only bid for the first 3 ad impressions, and then they stop returning bids. So in order to minimize bid requests that are not returned with an actual bid, we drop that header bid network out of the auction for the rest of the session, because we do not want any extraneous bids that are wasted and slow down the page performance and decrease viewability. We want to maintain strong UX with fast page load times and an auction that loads as quickly as possible. And finally, we have integrated machine learning into our technology so that the tech is optimized according to the most important metrics, and the machine learning receives billions of ad impressions and stats that allow it to learn from them and optimize the most important metrics like page RPM, win rates, participation rates, and it optimizes them to get even better stats and, of course, earn higher ad revenues for the publishers. So within the PubGuru interface, you will see and get access to unified reporting. So this is the automated reporting that I spoke about, and it'll allow you to get all your ad revenue stats in one place so that it's very easy to see how much you make per day and where the sources are from. We also have discrepancy reports so that you can tell the revenue, impression, and RPM discrepancies between DFP and what the ad network reports. So if there are large discrepancies, you can take that to your ad network rep and give them the stats and get that fixed, or pause it before you lose too many ad impressions, and so that you can prevent any unfilled ad impressions happening on the site. We're also very excited about the new technology that we're adding to the PubGuru interface, like the DFP implementer, the auto AdX integration into DFP, the header bid ad server so that you can manage your header bid setup within PubGuru, and a multitude of free optimization tools. Overall, MonetizeMore is estimated to manage over $72 million in ad revenues exclusively by the MonetizeMore technology and ad optimization teams. Over 300 million users have seen the optimized ads by MonetizeMore. and our premium publishers love our offering so much, our 2017 churn rate is a very low 0.5%. The process to get started with MonetizeMore is very easy. Simply have to sign up on monetizemore.com/signup. Brendan will be adding the sign up URL right in the comments. Then once you have submitted, then our screening team will look through each one of your domains and check it for Google policy and header bid compliance. And if one of your domains is not accepted, our team will give you custom feedback of what changes you need to make to be 100% Google policy compliant and header bid compliant. And we can work with you through that process. And then if you qualify for a header bid plan, then we will handle the full setup. It's a concierge setup so that you can sit back, wait for us to do the work, and then once it's all ready, we will send you the code with instructions to implement it on your site. Thanks everyone for listening in the webinar. I'm now gonna pass it over to Brandon, who is going to field some questions. Okay, looks like looking at some questions right now. So we have a question from dreamjob.ma. We are aiming for a launch for PubGuru in Q3. So please watch the, sign up to our newsletter. We'll be sending some notifications and we'll let you know once we get closer to launch for an exact date. Okay, looks like that's all the questions. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and that's a wrap for the webinar. We'll be having some other webinars throughout the month, through July. So yeah, definitely check out on our newsletter. We'll be sending some notifications about the next webinars. Okay, thank you.